Baozhen Luo is an assistant professor in the Department of Sociology at Western Washington University. I asked her to provide her insight on whether she thinks raising China's retirement age is a way to address a labor shortage.
Yeah, it's actually a very common practice among a lot of countries who are facing this kind of population issue, the kind of government intervention they're taking. There are three purposes for raising retirement age. First is to really sustain or even possibly increase the labor force. In today's China, the elderly are in better health, they're living longer than in the past. And the retirement age in China right now is actually really, really low. It's 60 for men, 50 and 55 for women. So it really makes sense to delay the retirement age and to sustain the labor force. And then I think there's a statistic out there that by 2020, if China can raise the retirement age to 65, they're really looking at adding about 40 million workers in the labor force. The second one is that by raising retirement age, it can actually really delay the payments, public pension payments, while China is slowly developing its social security system for the retired population. And then the third one, there's often a lot of concern about if we raise retirement age, would young people's employment aspiration opportunities be suffered? That's really not the case because China right now is really going through this economic transformation from a labor-intensive economy to technology, innovation-based economy. So the older population and younger population are really, the older workers and younger workers are really fitting into different kind of industries.
Talk to me about what the philosophy is there in China. People feel like one child is enough. What are some of the factors leading to this, you think?
Actually, that's very common among a lot of more, I guess, older societies today, and we call this low fertility trap. I think there are three levels of factors contribute to this low fertility trap. First is, as you said, this kind of culturally, today's younger generation, they grew up as the only child, or maybe one out of two children in their family. So their cultural ideal in terms of a family size is drastically different than the older generation. So for many of them, they think one child is enough for them to complete their family, and they can look for other ways to fulfill, to sort of give them life purpose. And then there's also economic one. It's just very expensive to have a second child. Today's younger generation are engaged in this kind of labor force, very competitive labor markets. While they have great aspiration economically, the reality, the kind of competitive reality make it very challenging, actually, make them very difficult to obtain their aspiration. So this mismatch between aspiration and reality just make them feel kind of unrealistic to have a second child. And then the third one is really the one-child policy. The direct result of one-child policy is fewer mothers, fewer potential mothers. And if we follow that kind of trajectory, what we are looking at is there will be fewer births because of fewer women who will be able to give birth. So we are really seeing an active population growth momentum.
So talk to me more about the trajectory, extended out further, if you will. What will be the lasting legacy of the one-child policy moving forward, do you think?
I think what we are looking at is similarly to what we see today in Japan and South Korea and other Western European countries, that China's population will probably decline by maybe 2030. And that's the long lasting. We are seeing a momentum. That kind of fertility rate will continue to decline.
Baozhen Luo joining us earlier.